Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are thinking about chaos. Yes. Let's be honest, we all feel some type of chaos, some way, shape, or form. So luckily for me, I got Noah Asher here on my podcast so that we can think about chaos a little bit more. But there's a twist to it because there's always twists in life, right? The twist is that he just finished writing a book called The Chaos Overcoming the Overwhelmed. I wrote it down. I see. Pay attention. So Noah, I just wanted to say when I was checking out your book, it was really interesting, your book cover. That truly got my eye. I love how you used an umbrella. There was a cloud, there was arrows shooting down, and they all had these big, impactful words like anxiety and fear and addiction, like that. Those
Yeah.
are amazing. What made you think about that book cover? I mean, what made you think of that? Of
Yeah.
all the things that you could use,
Right.
why that?
It's funny. So many people, I actually make a joke on the back of the book about maybe you picked it up and judged my book by its cover, like what we all talk about in life. But it's as I was doing the editing and getting with my publishing team, I just they kept sending me stuff for the cover and I didn't like any of it. And it was finally I woke up one morning from like a dream. And I just took a piece of paper and I started drawing and I'm a horrible drawer. I wish I could find it, but it's the worst drawing ever. But I sent it to him and I said, don't judge my drawing, but this is what I want. Please make it look cooler than what I just gave you. It was the idea of just having these words rain down upon us. Because I feel like a lot of times that's what life does. And that's what the idea of chaos is we all experience storms in our life. And I use that analogy and that metaphor throughout the book, but it's all about when these storms come and when these battles come our way, how overcome the overwhelming. And I think chaos realistically is a good placeholder because you're talking about, oh, my life is in chaos. For some, it is illness. For some, oh, my life is in chaos because I just lost someone. So it comes in many different forms, but we can still all overcome. And that's the ultimate goal for this book is to help people gap between overwhelming to overcoming.
I like that. I like the way that you explained it because it helped me see it in a different perspective because we experience so many storms in our lives. And when you said that, sometimes it's the health, sometimes it's the loss in your life. And it makes it so surreal because if you really think about you walking with an umbrella for a long period of time, you're gonna hit multiple rainstorms coming down with you, but it's each gonna be impacting you in a different way. So I
Yeah.
love that analogy and using that metaphor because goodness, that truly makes you think about it differently. That really does. So I'm curious, what made you even want to write the book? I mean, you could have kept this information to yourself. You know what I mean? You could have been like, no, let's keep this for my handy dandy to-do lookbook. And when I'm ready, I'll reference it. But you decided to share it with the world. I mean, why do that?
Yeah, this book was birthed out of my own chaos. Almost 13 years ago now, I was arrested and incarcerated, and I lost everything. And I ended up trying to take my life because I thought my purpose and like my whole existence was just over. And I realized I got to that place of trying to take my life simply because I had no purpose. And I was actually just talking to a US senator yesterday, and I was talking about some um, rehabilitation stuff we're working on for legislation. And I was telling them that, there's scripture that says, without vision, the people perish. But I'll take it a step further. It's without purpose, the people perish. And I think when you come across someone without purpose, they're dangerous because they have nothing to live for. And so I wanted this book, again, it was birthed out of my own chaos, but I wanted this book to be what I felt I needed to hear while I was in my deepest, darkest pit. And that's how the book was born. But more importantly, the goal of it is to provide hope, help, and humor to people who are just experiencing any sort of chaos that takes over their life.
That's very nice. That's nice how you were able to take your situation and put yourself above it and look down and be like, you know what? I can use my past. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
use your testimony to help somebody else walk through theirs because we don't know what we've been through, how it can help somebody else that is currently walking in that same motion. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And we don't realize that. So I love the fact that that is where it was birthed from. It was that seed that was implanted in you that realized, you know what, we can go a step further. I've learned, I realized I found my purpose. I mean, well, I guess, do you feel like you found your purpose now that you wrote the book? I mean, now it's published and done. I mean, what's your next purpose, or what do you consider your purpose then?
Yeah. I say a lot that there's purpose in our pain and in our past, but our purpose was not our pain, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it
And
does.
so the reality is for people who are going through some sort of painful chaos in their life, you go from pain to purpose, but then once you find that purpose, there's a platform. And to
Mm-hmm.
stand on that platform and to share your message and to share it with the world to say, hey, this is where I once was and this is where I am now. We just celebrated Easter, for example, and that's the whole point of Easter is that like on Friday, we call Good Friday good, but it wasn't good until we looked back on Sunday and realized, oh, Friday was good because of Sunday. And I think for people who are experiencing chaos but have come to the other side of it, they're living in that Sunday. I think they can look back on their chaos and go, you know what? It's not just chaos, it was good chaos. It wasn't just pain, it was good pain because it provided a purpose, but it also provided a platform. And so the goal of this book, but also just my life in general, is to let people know that there is hope and there is a future past their biggest storm and their biggest battle in life. And it's
Yeah.
to really help find a light for people who are in their darkest of pits. That's what this book is, and that's the ultimate goal of what I want to do.
I love that and I respect that because, to be honest, when you're going through a storm, we feel so alienated. You know what I
Yes.
mean? We feel so like this is only happening to me. This is gonna last forever. And it's truly hard, like you said, to see the light at the end of the tunnel because it can feel like it's lasting for so long. Because our
Yeah.
concept of time is so wrong, if
Right.
that's the right word, you know what I mean? Because we see it in such a single like point of view, but in reality, light and time is such beyond what we know and see. It's an
Yeah.
amazing concept that when we allow ourselves to embrace our season in whatever that comes in that moment or in that season that we're striving for, it is beautiful because when we do get to look back, it's like, wow, I survived that. And I think that's why I
Yeah.
love on your website, you said you're a chaos survivor. And that's
Yeah.
boggled me for a minute. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, chaos survivor. How are you a chaos survivor when chaos is continuously happening? But
Yeah.
after speaking with you and understanding the concept of this book and the real purpose, for why you put your heart into this really
Right.
makes me realize like yes, you can keep the chaos survivor title. You know what I mean? Allow
Yeah.
it.
No, I've coined that, but I do say that healing, there's never healed like ED, it's always healing. You're always
Yeah.
healing. And there's that point of just you're always walking, you're always growing, you're always healing, no matter what sort of chaos came. But there is that moment when you can look back and go, I've made it from Friday and even through my Saturday, and I've made it to Sunday. And that's the ultimate goal. For people with this book. And in fact, I talk about how I break the book down into three sections. It's the first part is prepare because we know storms are going to come, and that's not that mentality of oh, batten down the hatches, doomsday, that sort
Yeah.
of mentality. It's just reality.
Yeah.
Storms come, and so I'm from the south, and so I know all about hurricane season. And if it's a hurricane five coming your way, you don't just go, well, it'll pass. No, you prepare. And so it's preparing people to understand that when life comes and when the bottom falls out, this is what you can do. And this is how you can prepare mentally as well as spiritually for that. And then the second section of the book is in the midst, and it's how do we walk through as the storm is already here and approaching, how do we walk through victoriously?
Yeah.
And that's the meat of the book. It's all about that purpose to, or from pain to purpose. But then the third section is the aftermath, and it's all about rebuilding. Once the storm dissipates, we're left with wreckage, and we have
Yeah.
to pick up the pieces and rebuild. And I think for me, I lived in my rebuilding phase for a while, because chaos was destructive. But it's not that I'll ever say that I'm fully rebuilt. I'm always rebuilding. But
Yeah.
I think that's important to just hold on to because it's like, wow, I can look at this person and go, wow, they went through a lot and shaking hands with the president. Cool. That's their story. Some people's story is they were paralyzed from their pain, but they got up today. They got out of bed. They brushed their teeth. They did their hair. And that also is a victory. That's a win for today. And that's what
Exactly.
matters.
Exactly. And people need to be more gentle on themselves and have more compassion on themselves because that right there, what you said, the difference between the two, it's still the same value of
Yes.
you've done a lot. People don't realize that you've done a lot for you. For some people, getting up in the morning and walking to go get their breakfast, yeah, that's nothing, but that's them. That's not
Right.
you. If you and your circumstance is just mentally clearing your mind and just taking a shower today and eating wholesome food, then that's an accomplishment, sweetie, and you need to applaud yourself for that because mental
Yes.
illness can severely attack you just like any physical illness. And I don't care what anybody says, we'll fight about it. You know what I mean? It
Right.
is okay. And one thing that I love is how you structured your book about prepping, walking, and the aftermath. Because one thing that God spoke to me while you said that is that he prepares people for certain things, you know what I mean, for certain
Yeah.
storms, and we don't even realize that he's preparing us because he tells us in the slightest, in his little quiet voice, in our spirit, he tells us these things and prepare us. And what do we do as selfish individuals that live on our flesh? We dismiss it because we're
Yeah.
present and focused on the now, that we don't realize that God is preparing us for a storm. So if he's
Yeah.
preparing you for a sickness, then prepare for it. If he's preparing you for a death coming, because man, those can hit you hard as well. So it's
Exactly.
like you need to listen to that voice within you when
Yeah.
when God speaks to you, in my opinion. I mean, what is your opinion on that when God speaks to you?
Yeah. I say some of my book is kind of a tongue twister, but I say that God's preparing us for what he has prepared for us. And
Hmm.
with that, yeah, it kind of, you have to sit and let that marinate for a
Can you
minute.
say
But
it again? Because it
yeah,
kind of broke up in the end.
it's fine. God is preparing us for what he has prepared for us. And what I mean is, he's prepared something already. But the question is, are we ready for it yet? If you look at, I'm not going to go super biblical on you, but I'll say this is that Joseph's life, he went from a pit to a prison to a palace. And what he learned in that pit and what he learned in that prison, set him up for success in the palace. And God knew because he's all knowing. He knew that the palace was the goal. But it's easy for us sometimes while we're in the pit to think that that's it. But he's just preparing our hearts. He's preparing our minds for the palace. And it's just holding out that hope. There's a verse actually that says, what the enemy intended for evil, God will use for good to save many. And it's
Mm,
just that mindset that we have to hold on to is like, okay, this may be bad now, but it's going to be turned good later. And it's not just
yeah.
for my good, but it's going to be for the good to help others.
There you go. I like that. Goodness, Noah. I feel like we could just keep talking about life and God and just ask so much. Like I didn't even go down my whole list. You know what I mean? I got to a few questions. Goodness, this has been such a great conversation, and I'm sad that the time
Thank
is
you.
running up. So I want to ask you one last thing. What can be some words of wisdom that you can leave me and my audience off with to continue on thinking? Even though you already gave us some great points, let's be honest. There's some great points out there. But what can be some lasting words of wisdom that you can give us?
I want to let people know if they're listening or watching this is that no matter what sort of chaos you're going through, the good news is that you will get through this. Don't know when, but the reality is you will. And that's what the whole point of this book is to let people know that I don't know when, but I do know that you will. And that's the ultimate goal. And that's the ultimate thing to hold on to. Because when you feel like you're on that ledge and you're ready to jump off, it's pulling you back and going, hey, you can take a step back because you will get through this. And then once you get to that point, now it's okay, now that I'm off the ledge, what do I do? And that's the help part of this book that I want to provide for people is to say there are some ways in which you can overcome your overwhelming. And so again, anyone who's listening to this and is just struggling right now, I want you to that you will get through this and there is a better day coming and just hold on.
There you go. I like that very much. You really do give us some great points to keep on thinking because come on now, ladies and gentlemen, if you are going through a storm, not only get his book, obviously, but also remember, God is walking with you through this. You are not alone. Even if you feel alone physically because you think that you're only going through this, no, there's somebody out there who's probably already gone through this, or there's somebody
Yeah,
out there that's going through it right now, but is in the other side of the world, or is in
right.
or down the block. You know what I mean? We don't know until we start talking about what's going on inside of us. You know what I mean? Start
Yeah,
expressing out. We don't have to live in our heads. We don't have to be mentally isolating because we feel that we're going to get judged or we're going to get mocked. We're going to get ridiculed by what we're feeling or thinking because I'm pretty sure the next that person that you're talking to is having that same issue. And when you talk in communion, not only are you having church, but you are having something that's beautiful. That's a relation. You know what I mean? You're
yeah,
creating a change that will affect the rest of your life, because
right,
I'm pretty sure that when you realized your purpose, you were like, this is now affecting my children, my if I don't know if you have children or not, but if you do, or if you're going to, it'll affect the generations that are around you, and that's a
right.
beautiful thing to have that.
Yeah,
Beautiful
it's
thing.
breaking that chain now. So like your family, your kids and your kids' kids don't have to deal with later. It's stopping it now and saying I'm going to be the one who breaks that chain and set myself free, but also set the generations come after me free.
I know. Okay. And I have to ask you, I know the time is running up and I'm supposed to already saying goodbye, but in my heart, I have to ask you, what could you tell your younger self if you could tell your younger self anything?
Run. No,
Yes.
I would probably I would definitely make some different choices in my life, but ultimately what I would want to know earlier on in life is that knowledge um is not more important than relationship. And
That's
that
interesting. What do you mean by that?
that goes to I had a knowledge of who God was for a long time, but I didn't have a relationship with him. And so it's not about like what you know, it's the who you know and really getting in deep with God in relationship and understanding that any solid relationship is communication, it's spending time together. And I wish I would have known that sooner because I missed out on some things. And I probably would have made different decisions in my life if I would have had a true relationship versus just knowledge of who God was.
See, I knew I had to ask that question because man, I hope that resonates with at least just one person, even if it's just
Yeah.
one single person, man, if that resonates with you, my life is done. I'm ready to go. God take me now.
Same. Yeah.
Because that right there, I say it all the time. And I think I pray that so much for my children so that not they only just have a knowledge of who they are, but they actually have a real relationship with him. Because
Yeah.
once you have a relationship with God, man, it changes your perspective on life. It
Yeah.
changes your whole momentum going forward. Because I
Yeah.
swear, once I had that moment of realization, like, oh, yeah, I knew of him. But once I realized a relationship with him, man, it's a different type of understand. And I read in the Bible somewhere. I don't know. I'm not a Bible quote junkie, so I can't quote with verses and A, B, one, two, three, none of that. But all I remember is that he's a man searching for hearts and he's a personal God. And your personal relationship with God is always going to look different than somebody else. It's that
Yeah.
relationship aspect. As long as you have that, who's to say you're wrong? Who's to say that God's not speaking to you? Who's to say that God not told you to do that? You know what I mean?
Right.
Nobody, nobody. So I think that's beautifully said. And I truly do thank you for coming on my show and sharing so much information with us. And if, ladies and gentlemen, you want to check out the book or you just want to know more information about Noah and see the goodness that he has to offer the world, please, please go check him out. I have his lovely photo. You can click right there and have all of the access that Noah has to offer to the world. So with that being said, always, always keep thinking, y'all. Bye.